Welcome, Clear Speak, Academy, Channel, Story, Whispers Beyond the Veil. The first thing Emma noticed when she returned to Ashfield was how still the town had become. Even the wind, which used to rattle the tall oaks behind her grandmother's house, now whispered softly, as though afraid to disturb the silence that hung in the air. It had been 15 years since she last stepped into the small, mist-wrapped village on the edge of Renmore Forest. Back then, she was only a child, clutching her mother's hand during her grandmother's funeral. Now, at 27, Emma stood alone at the old iron gate of the Delacourt estate, a house with secrets older than its stone walls. Her return wasn't by choice. The letter had arrived 2 weeks ago in a faded envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of aged parchment, written in a fine, looping script she immediately recognized. My dearest Emma, I know you must be surprised to hear from me. If you're reading this, then I am already gone, truly gone. There are things I could not tell you while I lived, but the time has come for the truth to find its voice. Return to Ashfield. The answers lie within the house, and in the room I told you never to enter. With all my love, Grandmother Eleanor. The room. Emma remembered the door. Heavy oak, brass handle, always locked. As a child, she tried once to peek inside, only to be met with her grandmother's stern warning. Some doors, she'd whispered, should only be opened when the soul is ready. Now, the house stood before her, cloaked in ivy and the hush of forgotten memories. She stepped through the gate and walked up the gravel path, the crunch beneath her feet the only sound. The key from the envelope fit the front door easily. It swung open with a groan, revealing the dim hallway she remembered, same creaky floorboards, same wallpaper with faded roses. Dust hung in the air like ghosts waiting for acknowledgement. Her first stop was the study. Eleanor had spent hours there, poring over old books and scribbling in worn leather journals. The shelves still overflowed with titles on folklore, mysticism, and arcane rituals. A single photograph sat on the desk, Emma as a child, holding a daisy, her grandmother's arm wrapped around her protectively. Then she saw the door. The forbidden one. It was at the end of the hall, past the parlor. It looked exactly as it had all those years ago, sturdy, quiet, waiting. She approached slowly. Her hand trembled as it reached for the brass knob. It turned with surprising ease. Inside was a room preserved in time. A round table sat in the center, candles arranged in a perfect circle. The walls were covered with strange symbols drawn in chalk, some faded, others recently redrawn. On the table sat an envelope addressed to her. This time, the handwriting was shakier. If you're here, then you've chosen to believe. What I hid from the world was not madness, but truth. This house holds a passage to what lies beyond. I tried to close it. I tried to protect you. But the veil is thinning, Emma. Listen for the whispers. They will guide you. But be warned, not all who whisper wish to help. Chills ran down her spine. Suddenly, the candle nearest her flickered, though there was no wind. And then, faintly, she heard it. A whisper. Just one word. Emma. She spun around, heart pounding. No one was there. But something had begun. Emma stared into the shadows of the room, her breath shallow, the single word still echoing in her mind. Emma. It was unmistakably her grandmother's voice, soft, familiar, and tinged with sorrow. She took a cautious step back, brushing dust from the table. The envelope trembled slightly beneath her fingertips, as though touched by an unseen breeze. The symbols on the walls seemed to shimmer in the candlelight, and the room suddenly felt colder than the rest of the house. A whisper again, this time more urgent. Find the circle. Emma blinked. What circle? She whispered aloud. As if in answer, a strange sensation tingled in her chest, like an old memory awakening. She remembered a summer afternoon when she was 6, playing near the edge of Renmore Forest. Her grandmother had caught her building a ring of stones beneath an ancient yew tree. You must never finish a circle, Eleanor had said, her voice sharp. A closed circle invites things to listen. Now, as the memory returned, Emma suddenly felt pulled, not by logic, but by instinct. She turned away from the room and headed to the back of the house where the garden had once been. The overgrown hedge grove crunched beneath her boots as she stepped into the untamed yard. Brambles scratched at her arms. And then she saw it. Near the edge of the property, where the woods began, a faint outline of a stone circle emerged under the moonlight, 12 stones, weathered and half sunken into the earth. In the center, a hollow where something once stood. Emma stepped inside it, and immediately, the world shifted. Sound dulled. The breeze stopped. Even the chirping of insects went silent. And then a presence. Behind her. She turned sharply, and gasped. There, standing just outside the circle, was a woman. Her form was faint, like fog caught in moonlight. Her features were familiar, Eleanor, but younger, her hair unbound, her eyes wide with fear and longing. Emma, the figure whispered. You must finish what I could not. Emma took a trembling breath. What is this place? Eleanor's ghost, if that's what it was, shook her head slowly. It is a gate, a rift. I tried to seal it when your grandfather vanished. But it opens again, every generation. And it's opening now. I don't understand, Emma said, clutching her arms tightly. A rift to where? To the between, Eleanor said. A place where the lost go. Souls who never found rest. Some beg to be heard. Some do not. Before Emma could speak, the ghost began to fade. Seek the ledger. It holds the names. Don't trust the voice with no face. And then she was gone. Emma stood in silence for a long moment, the circle humming faintly beneath her feet. She backed out of it slowly, her mind reeling. Back inside the house, she lit the fireplace in the study and pulled out every journal she could find. Most were filled with notes on herb lore and old rites, but in the last volume, bound in dark green leather, she found it, the Ledger of the Lost. Dozens of names, dates, and locations were written within, names of people from Ashfield and surrounding villages. Many were marked missing, others had chilling notes beside them. Martha Hale, heard whispering before disappearance. Caleb Drury, walked into the forest, never returned. Eliza Thorne, claimed to see a man with no face in the mirror. Disappeared 3 nights later. Emma's heart dropped when she saw the last name on the list. Jonathan Delacourt, taken. May still be in the between. Her grandfather. She didn't even know his name before today. Suddenly, the flame in the fireplace sputtered and extinguished. The room plunged into darkness. A voice whispered behind her ear, "He is waiting." The darkness in the study felt unnatural, dense, suffocating, like ink spilled across the air itself. Emma backed toward the hallway, her fingers fumbling for her phone. The flashlight flicked on with a dim glow, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. She swept the beam across the shelves, her heart pounding. Then she saw it. In the reflection of the glass cabinet, a figure. Tall, still, and faceless. She spun around, light jerking in her grip. Nothing. The study was empty. She turned the flashlight back to the glass. The figure was gone. Emma stumbled out into the hall, slamming the study door behind her. Her breath caught in her throat as she remembered her grandmother's words. Don't trust the voice with no face. It hadn't spoken yet, but it was watching. Back upstairs, Emma searched Eleanor's old bedroom, looking for anything else that might explain what was happening. The room was thick with dust, the air tinged with lavender and thyme. A portrait of Eleanor and a man, presumably Jonathan, hung above the fireplace. He was tall, with kind eyes and a silver watch chain peeking from his vest. His presence was warm, confident. A stark contrast to the cold dread that filled Emma now. She found a locked box beneath the bed. The key from Eleanor's first letter didn't fit, but a pin from her coat worked after some fiddling. Inside was a single audio tape, labeled Ashfield Ritual, 1983, and a bundle of old letters tied with twine. Emma took the tape to the old phonograph player in the parlor. After dusting it off and adjusting the speed, the tape crackled to life with the sound of fire and wind, and then Eleanor's voice, strong and purposeful. This is Eleanor Delacourt. The ritual has begun. The circle is drawn. The veil thins on this night, as it did for those before us. I speak the names now, to guide them home. A pause. Then a list of names. One by one. Some Emma recognized from the ledger. Others were unfamiliar. Then the tape shifted. A new voice. Not Eleanor's. Raspy. Hollow. You cannot keep them. They belong to the between. A loud crash on the tape. Eleanor shouting. Then static. Emma stopped the tape, heart racing. Whatever Eleanor had tried to seal was powerful and angry. That night, sleep did not come easily. Emma lay in her childhood bedroom, the moonlight painting silver across the floorboards. Just as she was beginning to drift off, the whisper came again. Emma, but this time, it was a child's voice. She sat upright. Who's there? She whispered. Silence. And then, from the hallway, a soft thump. She got up, her flashlight in hand, and opened the door slowly. The hallway stretched out, empty except for a trail of wet footprints. Small, bare, they led toward the forbidden room. Emma followed. The door stood ajar, the candle inside still lit from earlier. The circle on the table now had something in its center, a small silver key, old and tarnished. As she reached for it, she noticed something carved into the table beneath the dust. He waits at the mirror. Emma glanced up. There was no mirror in the room. But then she remembered her grandmother's mirror in the attic, covered with a black cloth since her death. The attic door groaned as she pulled it open. Cobwebs clung to the walls. Dust motes swirled in her flashlight beam. She reached the far corner, where the mirror stood, tall, antique, covered in dark velvet. The air grew colder. She reached out and pulled the cloth away. The mirror was cracked slightly along the edge, but the glass was clear. Her own reflection stared back, pale, trembling. Then, slowly, behind her in the mirror, a second figure appeared, faceless, not just lacking features, entirely blank, like smoke had shaped a human form but forgot to give it life. Emma turned. Nothing. She looked back at the mirror. Still there, but this time, it raised a hand, and so did her reflection. No, not her reflection. It moved differently. She stumbled back, heart in her throat. The mirror began to ripple, like water disturbed by wind. A voice emerged, not a whisper this time. A low, echoing tone that filled the attic. Bring the name, or he will take yours. The mirror went black. Emma screamed. Downstairs, she flipped open the ledger again. There, beneath her grandfather's name, something had changed. Where once it had said taken, now it read, traded. Emma's mind reeled. Traded? For what? For whom? A horrifying possibility began to rise in her mind. Someone had once given a name, to save someone else. And now, the between wanted another. Moral of the story. Whispers beyond the veil. Truth requires courage, especially when it hides in the dark. Thanks for watching.